name is Bailey Cook. I'm the host of the Y Project podcast, and today we have a special guest with us, my mother-in-law, Heidi. She is going to be sharing her story about bipolar and just that whole journey of everything that comes with it. So, Heidi, just to start us off on this first question, for those who may not know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey?
Okay, well, I'm Heidi Mendez, and I'm an actor, and I have bipolar 2 disorder. I don't consider it a disorder. Now, with medication, I consider it a good thing. I'm also ADHD, so there's three things going on, the mania, the depression, the ADHD, and all of that was a challenge for a long part of my life, but now it's a good thing. It actually is a strength. So,
I love that. And tell us a little bit about your childhood into where you are now. I'd love for them to hear more of your backstory there.
well, the backstory is that I'm an only child. I have only child syndrome too. Um, I was referred to or labeled as temperamental and maybe moody. So that's what, growing up, people saw me as that. I was very loved by my parents. My parents were probably ADHD bipolar too. Also, they really adored me to an extent that it was reverse child abuse. It was more like, you're better than all the other kids. So I kind of grew up with this feeling that I'm better than everybody else, which I learned later in life that actually that doesn't work. Um, I remember feeling very strongly. I had the capability of experiencing emotional pain to a very deep level. When I'd lose a friend or something, or we'd move and I wouldn't see my friends again, and um, feeling deep sorrow, but not debilitating. It was just a deep feeling. I had deep feelings, very passionate about things. And my mind is very creative and very artistic. And if I'm doing something creative and artistic, I'm happy. If I'm cleaning, I am mad and rage would happen.
Your husband does most of the cleaning at
Well,
home, right?
yes, he loves doing the cleaning. Yeah, cleaning. Yeah, that was the problem. Is
Good.
we grew up with a maid in Mexico City, and I never learned chores, and I never learned how to make my bed or anything like that. It was terrible. That not good.
So you grew up in Mexico, is
I
that
grew up in
correct?
Mexico City. Yes, I was raised
Hmm.
from third grade through high school.
Okay.
Hmm
And then from Mexico, where did you go from there?
Mexico, then I went to New York City for my freshman year in college, and then because I converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and as a senior in high school, I transferred to BYU my sophomore year and lived in Utah for 3 years and graduated from there, and then went to New York to be a big Broadway star.
Hmm.
Went to New York City.
That's so awesome. Heidi is so cool with all of her acting stuff, and she's in a ton of plays around Utah, and she's had some really cool, like, on TV acting gigs as well, which has been really
Yeah.
fun to, like, marry into that and see that, where my husband has shown me some fun stuff that you've been in. So I love
Yeah.
that about you. It's super fun. Well, let's get into the second question. When were you first diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and what happened in your life at that time?
Okay. Well, I wasn't diagnosed until 2006. So I was 46 when I was diagnosed.
Hmm.
And what was happening at that time is my husband was traveling a lot. So for most of the month, I was a single mother of 3 boys, and we were dealing with a teenager, a rebellious teenager, a middle schooler going through the puberty and stuff, and an elementary school kid that I was trying to get him not to lose his Spanish. And he was going to a school way out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, we were at church one Sunday, and I was in a very dark place. I was very sad and depressed, and my kids were sitting at church misbehaving, just being terrible. And I was just crying, going, Jesus, help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus, help me. And I had been treated for postpartum depression before. Um, but at that point, this was a really low. And when the meeting was over and we were in the halls, some lady came up to me and said, "How you doing?" And usually the typical LDS answer at church is, "I'm fine." And I'm one of the people who shoots from the hip. And I said to her, "I'm in a very dark place and I don't know how to crawl out of it." And out of the blue, the sister said, "Have you ever considered you might be bipolar?" And I said, "You know what? I I haven't considered that, but I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into that." Because when she said that, what triggered in my mind is that I have really high highs and really low lows. I mean, when I'm doing something creative, I can rehearse a play, choreograph a musical, and work for 8 hours straight, not go to the bathroom and not eat, and maybe be up till 5 o'clock in the morning choreographing in a notebook. I mean, I do that. And I thought, oh, she might have something there. And I thought it was very inspired that she decided to say that to me. Probably because she's bipolar and recognized it in me. So I said, I'll get that checked out. So I went to a psychiatrist and answered all the questions and did all the tests. And she said, "Oh, you're ADHD and classic bipolar 2." I said, "Okay, good. What do we do?" And then so we tried different meds to treat all 3 things, right? And the first ones, I slept a lot. I would crash out on the couch. They gave me something that they give epileptics, and I went back to her. I said, "This is not working," because I got 3 kids. I got to function, right? And I think we tried one more thing, and then on the third try, we found the magic combination, which was an antidepressant with a mood stabilizer with an ADHD med. And together, the 3 are the perfect storm, perfect cocktail, to make me happy and functioning and alert and not sleeping all day. I mean, it was just great. And the other thing that happened that was really great is I had to get a hysterectomy. And let me tell you, menopause was a second lease on life for me. No hot flashes, nothing, just no menstrual ups and downs that I had as a teenager that were really it was a roller coaster during the female, you know, time of the month. And I just felt young, and I don't know, I just went back to being 20 again, just and happy and functioning. And what really was great is that the rage calmed down with the mood stabilizer. Because I had rage. If I wasn't doing something creative and I was doing something that I didn't like, I'd get really angry. So my kids kind of grew up with the scary mom, kind of the slamming doors, breaking plates kind of thing. and I realized that my parents had that.
Mm.
They had the rage. My mother once said to me when I was 12, she said, Haidita, never make me mad when I have a knife in my hand, because I see red. And that, so I'm going, oh gosh,
Yeah.
what's she going to do with the knife? So, and my dad would have a short fuse. He'd explode, yell, and scream, and was big. I mean, I come from a Hispanic family, so we're loud.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is out. But once he'd explode and have it all out, he was fine. It was like everything was back to normal, and we would have like really daughter father hairy fights, screaming and yelling, I wish you were dead, and I mean said horrible things, and why don't you go live with your mother? My parents got divorced when I was 12 anyway. And then 5 minutes later, after the whole explosion, we'd curl up and watch a soccer game together.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
the extremes. Looking back, I go,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, both my parents were bipolar, and my dad was linear. He was not ADHD. My mother was definitely ADHD. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
totally scattered. So I got my parents in me,
Mm-hmm.
and but the key is that, and being LDS, the key is love. And somehow, no matter what your disorder is or your challenge, I'm not going to call it a disorder, your challenge, your growing challenge, you can always choose love. Because I went into a deep down spiral depression during two of my pregnancies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, wait a minute, I'm not feeling maternal feelings. I'm not feeling any joy. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
feeling anything positive towards this little baby, this little innocent thing that just came. And so I had to choose to love.
Mm-hmm.
It was an exercise in choice, thanks to my faith, saying, okay, I will love this child, even though it's not coming naturally,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So
Yeah.
that, I don't know.
I think you talking about choosing love, especially within the midst of postpartum, I think a lot of women feel that way.
Yeah.
I think that, like, I know I felt that way with Rosie when she
Mm-hmm.
was born. I didn't feel like I had those maternal instincts either because my depression and OCD were so bad, and I just like was so overwhelmed. And I was like, how can I take care of this baby when I literally feel like I don't love her? And that like scared me so bad. And so for even an older woman to say that, I think is really powerful,
Mm-hmm.
especially for this younger generations of moms and maybe even middle-aged moms
Yeah.
that carry that mom guilt with them.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh, if there's
that's
anybody out
powerful.
there with oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mother, don't do that to yourself. Okay? Really don't do that
Yeah.
to yourself. This is a chemical thing that happens in your body, and now in 2026 we have great antidepressant meds, which back
Yes.
in 1988
Yes.
we didn't know what it was. I
Mm-mm.
just thought, I'm just I'm just a bad mother, I'm terrible. They told me that I would, this is the best thing that would happen to me, and I'm just going, it's not.
Yeah.
So it's a chemical thing that happens in your body, and it's okay. But choose love. But don't beat yourself up, because beating yourself up just makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
Yeah.
Just choose,
Yes.
exercise, be proactive.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to take care of this child. I'm going to love this child. I'm, just driving force.
Yeah. No,
And
I'm so grateful that you said that, and I love that you said that. And kind of taking it back a little bit into some of the signs that you said that you've seen. I want you to dive more into this, but before your diagnosis, what were the signs or experiences now that now make more sense looking back? So, as a child,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can go through as a child, maybe when you married your husband Nick, and then as a
Mm-hmm.
mother, were there any specific signs or experiences that you look back and you're like, oh, that makes sense
Uh,
that I reacted or felt these things?
well, as a child, it was the creativity, because if you look back in history, Mozart was bipolar. Picasso was probably bipolar, and he did his best work during his depressive states. Um, that artistry and bipolar go together. That's what I have come to the conclusion, that
Mm-hmm.
my artistic creative self, it's a gift to be bipolar because I can get deeper into art, into acting, into dancing, into singing, into cooking. Um, for some people, it's rebuilding the engine of a car. Uh, I just look back and say, okay, um, this was a part of me as I discovered theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
I discovered where I belonged. Um, I was, I really wanted friends that committed to me and be my friend, because I was a really good friend. I was intense. The mania was intense. I was a very intense friend. And that was scary for other people.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little intense.
Yeah.
A little intense. I was also verbal diarrhea, nonstop talking, could not allow there to be a moment of just silence. And that's part of bipolar, the
Mm-hmm.
incessant talking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then, as I, well, there was a big change as a teenager because I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that helped me change and maybe be proactive in controlling my only child syndrome of I want it my way or the highway thing. And getting really angry when I was left out of something that some people were doing and blaming. And I started curbing certain character traits because of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I started um, proactively, what's that called? Smoothing out those rough edges. But I had a lot of rough edges as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to college. I was in New York my freshman year. Um, and I lived in New York City, and I was majoring in theater. And that was a really good year. Uh, it was my first year in this new person as a practicing Christian. It
Mm-hmm.
was just a good thing, and that was really great. Uh, I really, in my love for a member of the opposite sex,
Mm-hmm.
it was a very passionate love, very emotional, and very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I I would do what some people in the church might consider dangerous things, and that might be part of the bipolar. I went. I'd go to Studio 54 way back in the 80s. It was a discotheque, and because I love to dance. But I didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do
Mm-hmm.
drugs, and didn't go and sleep with anyone. So I would meet guys and they'd want to take me home, but I would end up preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to them at the bar. That's what I would end up doing. It was like I felt that that was my mission in life, was to be like Jesus, who would go with the sinners and be amongst the sinners.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was, and I think that was part of the mania, the
Yeah.
preaching the gospel to others became part of the good mania, just
Mm-hmm.
like being creative was a good mania.
Yeah.
But getting angry because somebody spilled milk and I had to clean it, that would bring out rage.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember very many rage episodes during that time. After college, I went back to New York and toured with the National Theater Company for 4 tours. And I would go, 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 go. We'd get up in the morning, we'd drive, we'd perform, we'd go to the next place. And it was go, 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 go for like 3 months or 2 months. Then I would come home and crash and burn for a week. So that was part of the bipolar that I recognize now. The
Yes.
go, 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 go for an intensive 3 months or 4 weeks or whatever it is, and then come home and just for a week not get out of bed, watch TV, and eat popcorn and do nothing but that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the go, go, go and the crash and burn.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found as an actress, and that kind of kept going, the go, 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 crash and burn thing. But I wouldn't sleep for a week. Once you get married, you got stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, as a newlywed, well, I married my best friend. He uh, he and I have the three most important things in common in our lives, because some people have a list of 20 things of what you want in your spouse, and mine boiled down to three important things. The first one being that he would be a convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because all the people that were born and raised that I dated, we just, I had too much life experience before that. And people who were not members could not share the spiritual part. So I wanted a
Mm-hmm.
convert. I really wanted to find someone who was bicultural and bilingual like me. And he's British Mexican. I'm
Mm-hmm.
an Argentine Mexican Spaniard born in New York. So, and we're both bilingual and bicultural. And then the third thing was that we both had a passion for the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And we met in the theater. He was the bad guy and I was the choreographer. And we ended up getting married in a theater. Our civil ceremony was in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to London and had our church wedding. We were sealed in the London Temple forever. So whenever we have a thing, I say, hey, you're stuck with me forever. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were totally impulsive. We decided on a Friday we'd get married that Sunday, and that's what we did. We didn't spend any money on our wedding. We just when we had our church ceremony, we were sealed. It was just us two with the missionary that taught him,
Mm-hmm.
because he converted, and then we went on to start our lives. And um, I don't. I'm trying to recall. I had a happy. He was 30 and I was 26, so we were like, let's make babies, because we're not young. In the LDS
Mm-hmm.
church, everybody starts having babies at 20, and I'm like, we're a little older, and let's not be too old for our teenagers, because I
Mm-hmm.
remember what I was like as a teenager. um, and I had I had very happy pregnancies. I think the whole bipolar thing died down during that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was very content. And I never stopped doing, I mean, the mania never kicked into bipolar 1. Okay. The mania is that I always worked. I worked through all 3 pregnancies. I worked even when I was nursing. Um, I remember my kids were born in between shows and nursed during other shows. I was constantly directing or acting. I discovered portable playpens, so I would nurse, put in the playpen, go on, and that was in the green room, and I'd go on stage. So I had a very happy mania
Mm-hmm.
in the bipolar thing. Uh, then when my husband started traveling, sometimes when I was alone at home with one child or with 2 or with 3, I'd feel lonely and
Mm-hmm.
sad, and the depressive state would kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was mainly dealing with life, with dirty dishes, with dirty diapers, with kids fighting. It was just dealing. So it became hard, and it would go into that depression,
Mm-hmm.
which was what happened that day,
Mm-hmm.
in particular. Um, and I feel so bad for my kids that they had to put up with a bipolar mother, during those times, but that's what's wonderful about teaching them the gospel, is that they have forgiven me, they love me, they know that the atonement is real,
Mm-hmm.
and I was not well. It wasn't until I was medicated and everything went into sync that I haven't been angry in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been angry in 20 years. I lost my mother and my father, and I didn't go into a deep depression because I was already medicated by that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to look at it as, they're in a different place, and I love them, and things don't hurt as deeply as they used to.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? They just
Mm-hmm.
don't. They still hurt, but it's not that circling the drain feeling that
Mm-hmm.
you're just going into a darker and darker place.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of darker and darker places, when I was a teenager, I was in a place where people were bullying me. And I went instead of going into the darker part of the bipolar, I went into the rage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in the darker, and I thought of sticking my head into the oven. And then I said, no, actually, I don't want to kill myself. I want to
Mm-hmm.
kill them.
Yeah.
So it went from, I can't take this anymore, I'm going to stick my head in the oven, into, no, wait a minute. So it was one of these flips,
Mm-hmm.
going from there to the rage to I grabbed a knife.
Yeah.
I didn't carry it out, but that's what my brain did. And that's part
Yeah.
of the bipolar. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it does that. My husband, I gave him many reasons for him to grab the kids and leave.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him many reasons for him to do that, and he never, never gave up on me. And that's the magic of the church, the faith, right? That we have, and we are in this together forever. And we held on to that,
Mm-hmm.
because many people would have, and rightly so. We didn't know what was wrong with me. but I knew something was.
Mm-hmm.
Or not necessarily wrong. I don't like that. Just different, not linear.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing that, because I know that this diagnosis can really affect your relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be really hard to sometimes find those ride or die people that, even if you didn't have all figured out, like, what a blessing Nick is to your life. And I think other people can find that too,
Oh, yeah.
where if they aren't fully diagnosed or are having a hard time knowing how to create and make those relationships within this diagnosis, that it's very possible. And I see that. I see how much your boys love you. I see how much Nick loves you. I see how much your grandchildren love you. And it is, I guess, just a testament to show that any diagnosis that you're in, you can find your family. You can find those that love you.
Yes.
You can feel love in your life. And I feel like that brings so much hope for people, that
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't have to be lonely within any
You
diagnosis
don't
that
have to
you're
be
in.
unhappy.
Yeah.
You do not need to be depressed the rest of your life. You do not need to be
Yeah.
angry the rest of your life. You don't. Go
Yeah.
get yourself tested and get diagnosed, and then okay, the first set of pills did not work, the second didn't, and the third did. Sometimes it's a journey finding
Mhm.
the right, maybe it's
Yeah.
something holistic that you need to do, plus a lot of exercise to get rid of
Mhm.
the rage, or I don't know,
Yeah.
there might be, or you need to, your mania needs to dive into music, or um, you you don't have to be unhappy for the rest
Mhm.
of your life.
Yes.
There is help out there, and I have found it,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is the balance between God and my faith, and God gave us doctors, psychiatrists with
Mhm.
meds.
Yes.
So, and
Yeah.
that combined is just the perfect solution for me,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And I think something too that I'd love to point out is, I love that you use things that you were great at and things that you enjoyed to kind of help within that part of the journey. I think it's so
Mm-hmm.
important that people find things that they enjoy that will get them out of bed every single day.
Exactly.
Because, you know, especially too, I feel like being a mom's so wonderful. Having that role is so amazing. And moms also need other things
Yeah.
besides just their children. And
Oh yeah.
so being able to, I guess, learn that at such a young age, knowing that you're like, nope, this is what I need to do and this is what I love. I want to encourage people to do that. Like, find things that you love that will get you out of bed every single day, whether that's something super, super creative, or even just something simple like reading a book or cooking my favorite meal, or I don't know, it could be whatever. But I love that you throw yourself into things that help bring stories to others, that help connect people to each other. And I think that that's important to point that out and to encourage other people
Yeah, well,
to do
I
that.
do. When I substitute teach, oh yeah, sideline, I'm a professional actor and I work 4 jobs because I'm ADHD bipolar. And I'm happy working 4 jobs. That makes me happy. The biggest job is grandmother to 6 grandchildren, but I substitute teach, and when I go and sub at high schools, I say, you're the reason I woke up this morning.
Mm,
And I tell the kids that because they are at that moment. I'm not on set filming, I'm not rehearsing a play, but I'm doing my substitute teacher job. And they're the reason I woke up that morning. And I pray to God every day, give me someone who needs me today.
mhm,
And send that kid or whoever who needs to have the connection with me. Because we're all here on earth for connection.
Mhm.
I really feel strongly that you were sent to my son for a very special reason, and you're here, and you're part of our eternal family, and I'm so grateful that you are
Mhm.
a part of my life.
Mhm.
Okay. And with this whole bipolar ADHD thing and disorder, the word, I actually celebrate it. And I volunteered in juvenile detention for 2 years, and I would lead with, I'm ADHD bipolar, and it's a good thing. Anybody here with that? And they'd all raise their hand. All
Mhm.
these kids in juvie had things, and I go, hey, celebrate this because you can channel it. The
Mhm.
minute you channel it, it becomes genius. So if you have a depressive disorder, or you have a mania, or you have ADHD, it goes with genius. Find your genius.
Mhm.
You have that. And it could be cooking, it could be underwater welding, it could be, there's something that you are probably very, very good at, and maybe you haven't discovered yet, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I always say, celebrate this challenge. And we have a scripture that says, God has given us weaknesses so that they, through the power and the help of Jesus, they can become strengths. And that's the scripture that I live by. I don't read my scriptures every day. I just live by that scripture and another one. But I do live with, I'm going to make my weaknesses strengths.
Mhm.
And that's what gets me up. That's my hope. I think we have to embrace who we are, embrace anything we get diagnosed with, and not look at it as a taboo.
Mhm.
Actually embrace it and say, okay, so I am OCD. What that means that this place can be spick and span, I mean, look at it as a good thing. And where is it a
Yes.
good thing? So all the things that we are dealing with that maybe at the beginning feel like they're a bad thing, turn lemons into lemonade.
Mhm. You're so good at that too, Heidi.
We just
At
got to
doing
do
that.
that. We got to
Yeah.
do that. Well, I tell everybody, read The Greatest Salesman in the World. That book changed my life. It was given to me when I was a teenager, and that's where I learned that when I'm angry at someone or I have a beef with someone, my biggest weapon to fight that person is love. And it's like, I'm going to love this person, and I'm going to serve them, and I'm going to do until their hatred barrier or their anger barrier towards me just melts. It just melts
Mhm.
because that's the power of letting love be your drive.
Mhm. Thank you, Heidi. One last question that I want, or I guess it's kind of two, that I'd love for you to touch on is what does hope, you kind of talked about this already, but what does hope look like for you today? And what is your why? I asked my all of my guests at the end of their interview what their why
Mm-hmm.
is, what's their reason to stay, why do they continue forward in life? And I'd love for you to touch on both of those before we close.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm full of hope, and I've got the energy of a buzz saw, and as long as my physical body, because you
Mm-hmm.
never know. I mean, when things are going really, really good, I always think to myself, oh, the other shoe's going to drop. A little
Mm-hmm.
challenge is going to hit us. And it's happened in my family when things are going really, really good that somebody maybe broke their neck in a few places. Maybe somebody had to have brain surgery. Maybe there was cancer in the family. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
things come at you, right?
Yeah.
And the hope is that this is just a challenge to the way I see it. You're going to go over it, around it, or through it. and you're going to take your loved ones with you with whatever that challenge is. You
Mm-hmm.
either get over it, around it, or through it, through whatever the wall is. There's the wall, you know. My son Sam, Bailey's husband, gave me a word that I have framed. He said, "Mom, you're undaunted." And I've got that framed. And so that is my hope, to remain undaunted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the why. The why is because I'm at the age of life where you leave a legacy. So, what am I leaving my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids that are still up there in heaven, haven't arrived yet?
Mm-hmm.
What legacy do I leave? And that is my why.
I love that, Heidi. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today and for being vulnerable. I know that there's so many people out there that have bipolar, and I feel like bipolar is one of those diagnoses that there's a lot of taboo and a lot of stigma around that. So, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out. And if you're needing any resources, you can just message us or comment down below and we'll reach out to you. So, thank you.